It's the God, Geometry999. This is my introduction. This is me broadcasting my frequency. This is me pushing past procrastination and perfectionism. Because honestly, I feel like I could be much richer. You know what I mean? I could be much fitter. I could be just better. That's like, that mindset that I have before me even doing this video and doing these starting this. And in reality, I'll never be perfect, you know, but I will continue to refine my energy on a daily basis. So, with this being my introduction video, I will outline a couple of things about myself because oftentimes, people say, and this is a term, don't listen to the messenger, listen to the message. And to me, I feel like that's BS because honestly, if the messenger is tainted, then the message is tainted. And of course, I feel like you can gain wisdom and understanding from anybody. There is always somebody out there that is a genius at something that you know nothing about. So, a brief introduction again. I'm from a nice sized town in Tennessee. Um, Named Knoxville. I grew up in a I feel like I'm so abundant in life. For me to even say this sounds fucking crazy, but the environment that I grew up in, most people were not abundant. Let's just say that. I'm not even gonna put a, you know what I mean? I'm not even gonna put that name on it that most people would like to say about where they come from, especially when they come from those type of beginnings. Let's just say I come from humble beginnings, right? But I always had an advantage. I've always had that one thing or those two or three things that was with me through everything that I went through. For one, I grew up in a two-parent household. Let's just start there. That is rare in my neighborhood. Maybe let's say that puts me in the 5 percentile, if that, the 5 percentile. So I'm grateful for that. Um, my family though was mostly matriarchal. I was raised by my aunties, my grannies, um, some of my mother's friends. I didn't even know that some of them wasn't even my auntie until I got older. I thought the whole time they were my aunts, like literally. But not to go too far back, we just gonna fast forward a little bit and we ain't gonna go too far into detail. Maybe later. Maybe later. But there was always things occurring within my life that one would deem supernatural. Whether that was my dreams, whether that was things that I seen and experienced, whether that was the visions, you know, there was always things occurring. So my intention on doing this video is for me to set the frequency, to broadcast the frequency for those who are on the frequency, for those who are special. Because 9 times out of 9, if you found this video and you have made it this far, it's not on how I look. It's not on any of that. It is on the frequency that I'm broadcasting. And you can hear someone's frequency when they speak. You can understand someone's frequency when they speak. Let a person speak long enough and enough, and you would know everything you need to know about them. You just have to sit back and listen. So I grew up was highly intelligent. that sound like a flex. That sound like a flex. No, I ain't flexing. I'm not flexing. I'm not flexing. That's just like my perception of me. But there's always a kicker. I stayed in some. I stayed in something. Like I was always in. The principal's office. They was putting me in school suspension. They was suspending me. All of that. But I was also in special programs like Talented and Gifted and things of that nature. So it was like a balance of who I am, and I'm a Capricorn 7 times. So learning the hard way is something that I have mastered. You know what I mean? It's like I love learning things the hard way. And with that, I have dealt with my fair share of restrictions, punishments. You know, like I said, I grew up in a 2-parent household. Two melanated people who was born in the 60s and one in the 70s, to single mothers. You ever got your butt whooped by 2 people in one day? You ever got gay? You ever got your butt whooped? You ever got your butt whooped by 2 people in one day? Yeah, talk about trauma. But no, like, I mean, hey, hey, discipline. Discipline is necessary. Now, was that in a traumatic way and did I have to experience it that way? Yes. Because I wouldn't be able to sit here and talk to you now. So, okay, like I said, I was always intelligent and mischievous and going against the system, just cunning and moving like that. As I got older and progressed in life, you know, I was attracted to the criminal lifestyle. Now, my first criminal beginning started with gangs. Started with gangs. So when I went to middle school, 6th grade, it was very hard for me. It was difficult because I felt weak. I was afraid, felt small. Here I was, I just conquered 5th grade. I was the king of the school. Hey, you know what I mean? I'm that guy. Now I come into a new setting and I'm nothing. Oh man, talk about a culture shock. I felt small. Seventh grade, I devised a plan. I would start a gang of the strongest, the toughest, the most intelligent boys in the school, and we will be unstoppable. So I gathered some of my comrades that grew up in public housing, the projects. I grew up in a house, let's just start there. But I gathered some when you grow up in the projects, some those guys, they grow up very fast because they are inundated with a lot of traumatic scenery. They see things, murders, drugs, sex at a very early age, and it does something to their minds, right? So what I did was I gathered the most intelligent one that I could tell out of their group, and me and him started a gang. Of course, Kings had to be in the name. I'm not going to say the whole name because I'm not going to resurrect something, but Kings was in the name. Yo, we became the most powerful force in the school. So much so to where even the older groups, the eighth graders, and they started to try and mimic us. It grew into something so big that every school has an officer. They brought the leaders, me, another guy, my comrade, and one of our soldiers, one of our elite soldiers. They brought us to the office and had a sit down. It was the principals, the guidance counselor, the police officers, um, and basically they were like, "What you're doing, it has to stop. This can't be, this can't be a thing. We're on to you. You're basically being labeled as a gang, and if you continue on this path, you will be um all labeled as gangs, and if you ever get in trouble." There will be gang enhancement charges up on you. Now, mind you, we're in seventh grade, so this is kind of little scary. Maybe we need to lay low. You know what I mean? Maybe this isn't what we need to do. Okay, so that was just one instance of that was like my first instance of not necessarily, it wasn't too criminal, but considered to the system. That was my first criminal thing. Then of course we started smoking weed and getting high. That was around eighth grade. That was the first time I had been truly happy in a long time. Getting high in the eighth grade. So we graduate. We go to high school. Now I know you like, why are you telling me all of this? Because all of this, these are keys and codes. These will matter in the long run because I have a vision, and this video will matter when you want to know why I am the way I am, how I am the way I am. This video will matter. Now, of course, I'm concise in it because I don't have Well, I guess I do, but I'm not about to spend 10 hours telling you every little detail about, it ain't, it's deep, but it ain't that deep. So, all while I'm going through this seventh grade as well, this is a key factor. I had an awakening. I was over my uncle's house. He's a conspiracy theorist. He's all into all this whoop whoop this and that. And we were watching a video on reptilians. He was showing me and my dad and this, that, and the third. And in the video, I seen a figure. Like it showed a figure. Some will call it evil. I'm not going to say the name of it. Some will call it good. I'm not even gonna. I'm maybe later, but not right now. So I seen this figure, and it'll it awakened something in me. Not a reptilian. It was a different figure. They were saying that they worshiped this figure. They were supposedly worship this figure, and I recognized this figure. This was a figure that I had dreamed of as a child. Many times, very vivid dreams. So it kind of spooked me. I couldn't even rest that night in the seventh grade. Okay. So it kind of awakened something in me, like, okay, so there's something going on within me. How is this deity coming to me in my dreams and get talking to me and telling me things and at such a young age? And what does it mean? Okay, boom. Fast forward, we in ninth grade, freshman, selling a little bud, nothing major, going into my mom's pill cabinet, selling pills, and because I had got a transfer off of the No Child Left Behind. So I didn't go to my designated high school. I went out there with the more fortunate kids, and it was not as diverse, of course, but it was mostly let's just say that I was a minority in the school. My creative person, my culture was a minority in the school. So, yeah, it was an interesting year. Interesting year. And as we progress, we go to another school, still out in the privileged area, and I start doing my thing. I start selling bud, and small time, small time, and I I broke into a couple houses. That's not cool. Oh no, that is not cool. That ain't cool. That ain't cool. That's how you that's how you get knocked off. Like that's how you get knocked off. Not cool breaking into people's houses. That's not cool at all. Not cool at all. Not cool. Not cool. Yeah, but we must learn and no regrets. Um, right. So I progress. I get kicked out of school. I go to alternative schools. Yeah, spent time there. Of course, all in the mix. I'm through this. I meet some beautiful girls, and I have getting high, getting money, and getting women was already a priority in my mind when I was in high school. I wasn't focused on graduating or college or anything of that nature. Um, yeah. So by then, I have pretty much left the gangs behind, and I've kind of reinvented myself. I'm just on like it ain't about necessarily the power of brotherhood and things at this point in time in my life is just about, it's pretty much more so about, like I said, sex, money, drugs. That's my main focus. So, as we progress, we graduate, we get off in the streets. I graduate in 2012, which is also like a synchronicity in itself, because all through school, the years that I went to school aligned with the year. So when I was in 11th grade, it was 2011. When I was 10th grade, it was 2010, and so forth. So 2012, I graduate. Now, now I'm, because I come from the East, so I was out west. I went to school out west, but when I graduate, I'm like, boom, it places me in the East more so. Now the East is my school, the streets is my school. Now it's time to do what I have to do and do what I want to do. You know, in my graduating class, 2012, all you'd have to do is look at the, and I say this just. All you have to do is look at the murder rate in my city from 2012 to 2016 to understand the class that my people, my tribe, to understand us. Most of my comrades, most of the guys that were in were in our gangs back then. Most of those guys are in prison. Some of them are no longer with us. Some of them are getting out of prison now because they went in when we were younger. Um, and maybe like me and another person, we never went in. Um, Sort of like an anomaly in a sense. So, hmm, mm. As I do this video, I like to send gratitude and love to my ancestors and to my progeny as well. Yeah. So, all in the mix of this, I'm still at my core, I have a spiritual essence. Still at my core, I'm having these weird experiences that I really can't explain. I'm hearing voices talk to me. I'm getting what I know now today is downloads, and I'm into certain things that my dad wouldn't approve of. Like I was always into like certain magical books and things like that. My dad was big in religion. He didn't really, you know what I mean. And what's weird is he didn't approve of me being in the streets, but he didn't want me to be in dealing with magic or sorcery or any of the learning about it or reading about it or any occult things. More so than me being in the streets. But of course, there was always a pushback of that. There was resistance, which I'm grateful for. That made me very resilient. Um, right. So as we progress, we get out of school. Now, a couple years, I'm gonna skip a couple years and go, and I create an alliance. I create a street alliance. I put elite hustlers around me, and we begin to flourish. And of course, there is none of that without turmoil and without um, there is none of that without war, basically. Let's just say war. You know, um, weird thing is once you get blood on your money in the streets, it it 10x's. Once you go to war in the streets, and you're victorious, But with that comes a lot of heartache, a lot of turmoil, and essentially, I still always had a spiritual essence between all of that, but it didn't click until it clicked. So 2017, 2016, I believe it was 2016, I was awakened, further again. I went and seen a guy by the name of R.E.D, and his lecture was the origins of um the Black Jesus. I believe that was the name of it. Damn, I said I wasn't gonna say no entities names. I ain't want to say no entity names like those. Dude, damn. I ain't said no entities names this whole time. Yeah. Anyway. So I seen his lecture, and it sparked something deeper in me. He spoke about Kemet and Haru, and I said I saw her, and then you know what I mean. Okay, so as I progress a little further on, which I'm concise that there are things happening, there are supernatural events that I'm seeing in the sky. I'm seeing certain things, and you know, I'm not gonna reveal it too much just yet because I don't. Honestly, I don't feel comfortable doing it. Maybe as I keep going, with this, I will feel more comfortable revealing more about myself. But these are things that are intimate to me, and I haven't told anybody. And now I'm about to broadcast this where millions of people have access to it, which I know that they really don't, because if you're not on the frequency, then you won't be you won't be seeing this. So I'm not really, but still, like, I ain't just ready to tell you this. And you think, oh, he did, oh, we got another one. Oh, and you know what I mean? I don't know. I just maybe. Well, I say I will. I say I will eventually as I start to open up and continue on this path. I will be able to share certain things about me that I haven't shared with people, and it will awaken and remember the things within you, make you remember how special you are, and continue on your path. And when you hear my trials and my triumphs, things that I overcome, the betrayal, let's get there, you know. There's no such thing as being a leader or a king or any of that without experiencing betrayal. There's no such thing as experiencing power without experiencing powerlessness. There's no such thing as experiencing true wealth without experiencing true poverty. All of these things that I had to deal with and go through just to get to this point right here. Like I said, I hate to make it sound like this is such a factor in it, but I'm a Capricorn 7 times. So the Saturnian initiations that I have experienced were damn near bone breaking. Still I rise. Still I rise. Nah, yeah, but it's like, as we continue on this path and as we continue on this path together, we will refine our energy daily. Um, yeah, I believe that I'm pretty much gonna stop this video here. I'm hearing keep going. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. So, like I said, I experienced that awakening all while going through wars and battles in the streets, and then those awakenings progressed. And I realized that at one point in it, I was like, at the point I'm at, I had rose to the top in power, right? And to me, that may not be how others see it. The top for me ain't the top for you. So for where I was, being up 6 figures, having your own conglomerate, having soldiers, having people who are loyal to you, having your women, having the cars, the jewels, having everything that you desire materially. To me, that was the top. But I still wanted to go higher. And I'm like, damn, I like to get to these millions. But I'm knowing in my head, like, if I go millions, I'm going federal. I could just, like, I can see the steps. Like, I'm good at reading patterns and codes. I can see patterns, and I'm like, I can see certain things. Like, I can analyze certain things, and it becomes mathematical. And I'm like, okay, and then you hit that million, boy, you going fed. You know what I mean? And also, I'm having that spiritual, that deep. I'm getting this esoteric information and metaphysical information and diving deep into the occult. And it's like, bro, you're going to have to change your life. You're going to have to do something different. Because you can't know what you know now and unknow it. So that was a painful truth. That was a very painful truth. Because I'm knowing that everything, this whole empire that I have built, I can no longer hold on to. I can no longer maintain it. In fact, I have to destroy it. It hurt. It kind of hurts a little bit. I should be over that, but something that you've built since so long, you put 10 over a decade of your time into this. Everything for a reason, though. Everything for a reason. Because when I was that person selling sacks, 2 grams for 30. You know what I mean? Like I started, let's start here. Hold on. When I first got high, it was mid. I don't even think they sell mid anymore. You know what I mean? And that mean the bud with the seeds in it. And the way they say this new bud is now, I don't know. They say I wouldn't. The best thing that you're gonna have to be right now is sober. So deal with your emotions, deal with your childhood traumas. Cause trust me, I've been there. The addiction, I done been on 3 drugs at one time, geeking. You know what I mean? You having all the money just geeking. I wasn't Kodak geeking, but I was geeking, you know what I mean? You got all the money and you geeking, you know what I mean? Because you feel like you can do it. You feel like you can pop the pills, smoke, get drunk, do whatever you want to do. I ain't never play with my nose or nothing like that. Nothing against that. Nothing against if that's what you're doing. Or everything against that, because what the fuck? It ain't that bad, boy. It ain't that bad. It ain't that bad, boy. You need a hug. You need a hug, don't you? No, but I understand trauma. I understand trauma. Deal with it. You're going to have to deal with that trauma. You're going to have to go deep in your darkness. Deep in your darkness. So it led me on the path now, and I had to strip that life away. It was very fucking painful. It was very painful. Oh man. Like a phoenix, boy. I'm talking about, oh man. I might as well been in a full body cast. How painful that was to break that, to leave the criminal lifestyle, to leave getting high, to leave indulging in certain foods and certain sexual acts. When I say, hold on, let's stop there. I mean, like porn and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Oh, you think I'm doing that crazy? Let's do it. Porn, like, what I mean, masturbating to porn and stuff. No bueno, no bueno, because technically that's low key. You watching another man. That ain't, I mean, even though I had evolved, I was just watching women go at it. What I mean? Let me switch up the frequency. What are we talking about? What are we talking about here? Why? You know what I mean? Because automatically you're gonna go into your imagination. So we learned we learn to abstain. We learn to cultivate our energy, to go sober, to fast, to change our diet. No longer indulging in meat and fried foods and cutting the processed sugars and, just going on a state of refinement. Started exercising, you know what I mean, out in the sun. We started diving into nature, swimming in lakes, Now, why is that important, swimming in lakes? Because your mama told you, if you grew up like me, a melanated mama, your mama told you, boy, you better stay out of a lake. You better not go in that natural water. It's drop offs in it. It's this, that, that's how you drown. It's this, that, and the third. So we was facing fears, going with our hearts. And it led me here. Now I'm in a different state, in a different city, having healthy relationships, grateful for myself. I'm grateful for you, moving in love, moving in integrity, moving in honesty, moving in prosperity. And, of course, I would like to be up 10 million right now, talking to you like this. But hey, I'm going to start where I'm at. I'm going to start where I'm at. I'm going to start where I'm at. You know what I mean? So that is the introduction of me, geometry. Um, I will continue on this path. I've already started. And I believe that how you do anything is how you do everything. How you do anything is how you do everything. So, abundance to you, prosperity to you, balance to you, focus to you, focus, focus, discipline. You know what I mean? To you, refine your energy. You are great. You are greatness. You are special. Continue to prosper. Continue on the path. If you're going through something right now, good. If you're in the darkness right now, good. The deeper the pain, the greater the bliss. Keep going.